Hello and welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Concept Show. I'm your host Paul Rook, and as always we are joined in the studio by the stupendous Kerry Greenaway and the brilliant Richard Clements.
You've just managed to get that out, didn't you?
Yeah.
He was stumbling at that one.
I was thinking, what word should I go for?
Well, ever since you started calling me stupendous, I now introduce myself as that.
Yes, the stupendous Kerry Greenaway. Yeah, it beats the Evil Queen anyway, doesn't it?
I quite like the Evil Queen too.
Well, that's how I'll send you correspondence, so that's fine.
Yeah,
it's true, everybody. He does.
Yes, I do. How have you been this week, anyway, both of you?
Oh, very well, thank you.
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Not too bad at all. I was all just settling down and just letting life get on with itself, or try and catch itself up. But yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I'm starting to feel like we're coming out of hibernation. Now we've got steps to go back. No, it's starting to. Now the kids have gone back.
Yeah,
it's starting to feel like the step towards it.
See, I'm the other way around, because obviously I got the work load when lockdown started, so I've been busy all the way through lockdown. As soon as it goes away, I'm back to doing nothing.
No.
So I'll hibernate the other way around.
Yeah, it's been such a weird world. Such a weird world.
It's been a funny one, isn't it? We can all look back on it one day and it
has. Oh well, definitely. Anyway, today we are joined in the studio by two special guests. Would you like to introduce them, Kerry?
Yeah, these two beautiful ladies have gone on quite a spiritual journey together, separately, and we've talked many times about spiritual terms on the show. You know, we've looked at lots and lots of different concepts, but we thought we'd get these lovely ladies on to thoroughly explore this in a very conversational way, because these are really great friends of ours as well. Vivian Powell, absolutely amazing lady in the paranormal field and spiritual field in her own right, and Lucy, your partner, Lucy Paul.
Yeah, yeah, she's agreed to come on to show today. So say
on your best behaviour, Paul.
Hello, everybody. So it'd be nice to know as myself rather than the IQ elf. So.
Yeah, she's also known as the IQ elf. And Quizmaster. She's our Quizmaster.
Quizmaster, yes.
Yeah, lots of little titles to their names. So good evening, ladies. Good evening, Viv.
Hello. You all right?
Yes, they've all gone shy on me.
I'm just sitting there listening to you guys waffle on. It's brilliant.
We couldn't get a word in edgeways before the show started.
Because she knows she's being recorded, that's what it is.
All lies. It's all lies.
So, ladies, I want to take you back. I want to take you right back. Where was your first spiritual, not paranormal, spiritual experience? Viv first, please.
Ooh, now you're talking. I suppose my first spiritual experience, spiritual one, would have been that with my. Well, see, those of you that don't know, I am mixed race. I'm half Indian and half English, and so we'd spend part of our time here in the UK with my English side of the family, and then we'd go over to India and spend time with my Indian side of the family. And because we lived in a rather large house in India, there was my granddad, my nan, my uncle and my aunts, my auntie's kids, my cousins, and me and my sister. And me and my sister and my cousins would run around the house like lunatics, you know. We were very, very small. And my granddad, in his ancient wisdom, used to get me and the noisiest out of the bunch, if you like, would be myself and my cousin Dolly, and he'd get us to sit down with him in the living room cross-legged, and he taught me and my cousin the fundamental basics of meditation. And I think I might have been the tender age of about 4, 5. So we were taught on a weekly basis how to just sit and and meditate from a very, very early age. So I suppose that would be my first spiritual experiences, would be with my granddad and meditating.
Lucy?
Mine was very recent, really. I've only recently come into my spiritualism. I was on an investigation, and something happened on the investigation, and that's how I came into it, and that's how I learned how to meditate and do everything like that. Really pretty boring to start with, but that's how I that's where the spiritual gates were open for me after that event happened.
So on that experience that you had, Lucy, did you feel freaked out at all by that? Was that something that was like embraced at that time, or was you really like afraid of it almost?
I didn't know what had actually happened to me during the time. It was only the people that was with me that explained to me what they thought had happened to me. I didn't really know, and I didn't understand what had happened to me up until I started my spirituality. It made me more intrigued to go down the path of spirituality to find out what actually happened to me.
Now, you both got into the paranormal, like Lucy, as I said, you know, yours was basically wanting the experience of paranormal, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Viv, how did you get from the spiritual into the paranormal side of things?
I used to serve the churches in and around West London, and not blowing my own trumpet or anything, when you do those circuits, you get a bit of a name, and you get people that follow you, and that sort of, it's a bit weird. And I can remember being in a spiritualist church in Middlesex somewhere. I'm not going to mention the spiritualist church because it no longer exists, but I was at this spiritualist church, and a family came up to me after the service, and they were asking me for my card, like, can I have your card, can I have your card? And I said, look, I don't have a card. I said, I can write my phone number down for you, thinking that they just wanted readings and, you know, that sort of thing, and demonstrations of clairvoyance and things like that. And they said no. They said that they were having problems and issues in their own home, and they wondered if I could just come and visit and find out on a spiritual level what was going on in their home. So we had many conversations on the telephone between myself and the lady of the house, if you like, and from there I ended up going into her home, and I'd always been interested in the you know, what happens to us as living human beings after we lose somebody that we love, and how to console them, and all that was basic part of my training. So I thought it would be a part of that I'd have to do for this lady, and it turned out it wasn't. There was phenomena happening in her home, and I ended up sort of getting involved in the paranormal side of things because of what was going on for that family. Yeah, so that's how I got into the paranormal side.
And how did you two actually meet?
Go on, Lucy, you can tell this one.
Vivian used to do a convention, and I met Viv through a friend of mine, Michael D. He was the guest speaker, and we went as friends. And Mike was like, oh my God, I've got you, you know, you get to meet Viv. And he went and got Viv, and he's like, Viv, I've got someone to meet that I want you to meet. And that's how we met, really. And that, believe it or not, that was only 4 years ago. And people think myself and Viv have actually known each other longer. But we've only known each other for 4 years because we are really, really close.
We hit it off really well straight away. It was as though I'd known Lucy, like, for a long time. And I know, like, I won't give away Lucy's age because it's not fair, but she's a lot younger than me. And even though there is a huge... I'm making it sound like we're an item. But even though there's a huge age difference between us, I just felt that I'd known her for a lot longer, and that she was like my soul sister, if you like. I know a lot about Lucy. I know her warts and all. And she does me. And I think it's a good thing, you know, that we have this close friendship, first and foremost, before anything else.
Do you think that's born out of the shared spiritual journey that you've been on since you met? Because I know you've mentored Lucy, Viv, through this. Do you think that's created an energetic bond between you?
I think it's made it stronger. I mean, I felt like when I first met Lucy that I knew her before. Like there was, like I was saying things to Lucy, and she was like, "Shit, how do you know that?" And I was like, "I just know you." And she was like, "What?" There was that sort of element as well. But at the same token, Lucy was saying things to me without her realising that she could never have possibly known. She didn't know me that well at that point. She didn't know me well enough to know these things about me. So I think that there was a bit on both sides where there was this connection where, you know, when you meet someone for the first time and you know whether you're going to get on with them or not. This was a bit more than that. It was, it's like, do you know what? I'm going to say it. It's like I was related to her in a previous life. I know her really well. I'm quite protective of her, and she is of me as well. Oh, blimey, if you hear some of the conversations we have, she's like, oh, she really lets me have it. But
it's
yeah.
Like, I call you my paranormal mummy, and I'm your bubba.
Yeah, she is. She's like my paranormal baba.
So, as you were saying, Viv, you're sort of mixed race. Do you think your Indian heritage has a lot to do with your sort of your gift, so to speak?
No.
Oh, right.
I know. My granddad, see, on the Indian side, we weren't Hindus or anything like that. They're Sikhs. So yeah, they are very spiritual in their own rights, but they're not like like the Hindus that would go to the Hindu temples and this god and that god and all the rest of it. And it wasn't like that at all. I think my granddad just wanted peace and quiet, which is why he got us to sit down and start meditating. But it was my nan on my mother's side. I mean, she used to do tarot cards and read the tea leaves, and there was an exorcism that happened in her kitchen many, many moons ago. They had to get the church involved to come and remove something. And I think because my nan's fascination in spirit and spiritual work, and because of what I was experiencing as a child growing up, she was the one person that I could go to for help and advice. So I think it was my nan on my mother's side, and she was a Geordie, bless her. God rest her soul.
I can imagine you're a classic no-nonsense type person.
Yeah, I'd just slap you, honestly. She honestly, if we weren't paying attention or did do what, if we weren't well behaved, she'd get her slipper off and give us a right belting. But the slipper had no soles on the bottom. I hasten to add, there was a slipper, so it was quite funny growing up with me nan.
Well,
I want to go back to when Lucy was saying about what happened to her and she went into the spiritual route. Why did you go into the spiritual route, and why didn't you think to yourself, well, maybe there's something scientific that happened as opposed to spiritual?
I just think it was the feelings that I had because I'd never felt them before, and it was something different. And I remember from what happened, I was getting these like visions, and it wasn't like I was tripping out or I wasn't on drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I was perfectly fine. We went for Nando's before we went investigating, and whether they put anything in that, I don't know, but it was just really something different that I'd never experienced before. And being into the paranormal at the time and seeing how mediums and everything worked, I always knew that I was different from growing up as a child.
Mm-hmm.
But something just clicked, and I just thought, oh, maybe I have got a little bit of something that I need to work on, and that's how I got in contact with him.
Okay. Is there sort of any sort of family connection going back, or were you aware of a relative that perhaps had the gift, or?
As far as I'm aware, none of my family, they're all non-believers. They don't believe in it. It's absolutely frustrating for me when something happens to me, like working spiritually, or I've been on an investigation, I've worked spiritually. I'm trying to tell them, like, because I'm so enthusiastic about it, and they don't believe it, and it just goes down like a lead balloon. So there's nobody in my family that are spiritual at all, which is hard when you have this.
Right, well, I see.
I can sympathise with that.
Can you, Kerry?
Yeah, I can totally sympathise. My family are very pragmatic in their approach. They don't embrace anything spiritual at all. They're not religious, they're not spiritual, they don't believe in ghosts and spirits. And they've had experience. The most frustrating thing is they will have experiences and then they'll tell me, but it's like offhanded, it's like, oh, you know. And it's like so frustrating. Or like, you know, when I'm doing like the shows or when I'm doing, you know, going out on a ghost hunt and that they look at me sometimes like I'm a bit bonkers.
Yeah,
I've sort of been doing that for
I get that
years.
quite a lot, I really do. But since coming into my spiritual journey and stuff like that, stuff has happened to both my mum and my dad, and they can't explain what happened, which is really intriguing, should I could say.
Viv, what's your family like? Were they supportive of you?
Well, I'll start with my husband, shall I?
Oh, he's adorable. He does support you.
But he's a non-believer. It's all mumbo jumbo. It's all a load of rubbish. Nothing exists. I'm an atheist. You know, he's like one of those. Until it slaps him in the face, he won't believe it. But he's actually been in churches with me, and I've done a full demonstration of clairvoyance on my own. And he's had members of the public. Now, I've never met these people before. They've gone to him and they've told him, oh, I can accept this. How did she know this? And he's like sitting there going, I don't know. So, you know, but he's given me that feedback afterwards and he's been dead proud of it. So, and he even said to me, I don't know how you do it, where you're getting it. I don't understand it and I don't believe in it until I see it for myself with my own two eyes. And that's just standing, you know. My children, Damon had a little friend for a little while, and that all became apparent that he was actually having conversations with his guide. It's quite funny. I'll quickly tell you the story. He would sit on the stairs or go off to a secret corner of the house and have conversations, and it's as though he was talking to an adult, you know, and sitting listening, and you know, you're getting that and I'm hearing one side of the conversation. So as a medium, I try to link in to see, well, if he's got a spirit friend, I want to know who he's talking to and what that's about and make sure it's safe for him, you know. And I couldn't get the links at all. I was being blocked every which way you can imagine. It was just like, no, this is not for you. And it was when I took him to a spiritualist church, my own spiritualist church, not one I ran, but one I used to attend. And I used to sit in the back to support it, you know. And he'd be there with his headphones on, Game Boy on silent, playing away. And the medium said at the very end, he said, you know, when they said, got time for one more, they came to Damon and they said, Mum, I know that you're going to allow this because you yourself are a medium. I've seen you here many a times. But I want to give this reading to your son. Are you okay if I do that? And I said, yeah, fine. You know, I was like, well, my son's getting a reading, you know. And so I took his headphones off and made him listen. And in the end, Damon just wasn't interested. He's on his Game Boy. And I got the reading for him that he was actually at home talking to a blacksmith. Now, all the while Damon was talking about his friend, he used to just call him Sweaty Man. You know, and I'm like, well, who is this sweaty man? Oh, he comes to and he talks to me. Sometimes he's quite nasty, and I tell him to go away. I said, that's fine. I said, Jimmy, you're not scared of him, are you? You know, no, I'll just tell sweaty man to go away, and he's fine. And we went for like a couple of years with this talk of this sweaty man, and for this medium to stand up in a church and tell me that he was talking to a blacksmith, it all sort of made sense and clicked in. I thought, yeah, that sweaty man blacksmith. No, he was quite lucky to have him, you know, so... Yeah, but my family have been supportive. My mum used to have experiences. I lived in a haunted house. My childhood was rotten. I could go on and on and on, but it was my nan through my grandmother on my mum's side that supported me and got me where I am to today, basically. It's all down to her. And Doris Stokes. There you go.
Oh, Doris, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Yeah. What were your early influences in regards to this, Lucy? Did you have any mediums that you followed or read about before you sort of stepped into the path?
Not really, no. It was more paranormal TV programmes that influenced me. So I suppose coming from that direction, growing up as a society that watched a certain TV programme, it would have been Derek Okora, watching him back in the, God bless his soul, back in the day when he first started a specific TV programme.
Yeah. Yes. I think he brought it to the mainstream a lot more than he brought it out the spiritualist churches, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did.
Really, I think, much as we can criticise certain behaviours, shall we say, on that one, towards the end of that particular series, of his time on that series, I think the early series, the very first ones, I think that's the most authentic that we got.
I think as well, I think Derek was the only one that was showing trance mediumship live on television. Before that, I mean, doing trance mediumship was something that you did behind closed doors. You wouldn't even do it on a stage in spiritualist churches. It was like, it's a big no, it's a special event and a special thing if somebody did trance, So seeing Derek do that, he actually sort of brought it to the masses, and it explained a bit more about what the spiritualist movement was all about, was down to people like Derek.
Can we just explore the trance mediumship a little bit for the viewers? Because it's fascinating to me, having witnessed it. I've never tried it. I don't think I'd want to, because I don't think I'm nowhere near that progressed along my personal journey to do that. But, as a working media, platform medium, it takes a lot of guts getting up there, trying to give, have you done that, Lucy? Have you done platform mediumship yet?
I haven't done platform mediumship, no. Viv's trying to...
I'm trying to get her to do it. I'm trying to get her. I'm trying.
Twisting your arm there, Lucy.
So let's go through that. So platform mediumship is where you go to a spiritualist church and you get a medium go up. And actually it's very Christian, isn't it? How they conduct the ceremony. There's prayers and there's a song, and it's all about raising the vibration and tuning into the frequency before the medium gets up. There's usually an address.
Yeah. The
address is spirit guided, right?
Yep.
How does that process work when you have to do an address?
Well, when I first started doing it, the address was the most scariest part of it for me. It was like having to get up there and talk to a congregation of people from all walks of life, old, young, people that were into it, some that were non-believers, some that really did believe, some that were grieving. It was just a frightening concept that you would have to get up and give an address. But what you do is you allow your guides to come in sometimes when you felt comfortable enough to let them step into you, you let them use the voice box and let them do all of the talking themselves. Very rarely would I allow myself to get to that stage. I have done it. I've done it on about 4 or 5 occasions and know nothing about the address, so then I miss out. That is the only part of it, is if they're speaking through your voice box, you've gone somewhere else, you miss out on everything. So I chose to listen to my guides because they stand on one side of me, and then everybody else that wants to give the message to their loved one sitting in the congregation goes on the other side. So I let the guide talk to me and let the guide give the address without using my voice box. There is control in that, and you have to be able to listen and then just repeat it word for word. There's no point in changing it, because otherwise you miss crucial parts of what they're trying to say. And it's normally guidance. They're just giving you guidance in everyday life and things like that, or a glimpse into what it's like on the other side from their point of view. So yeah, that the address is like, because you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what they're going to talk about, and sometimes they never even showed up. They when it came to giving the address, they would make you, like me, Vivian, give the address from my perspective. That happened a couple of times, and it was like a scary moment, when you turn to look to your guide for help and guidance for the address, and then nothing. So then you have to give them the address from you, from your heart and what you've had to deal with that week, or something on a spiritual level. So yeah, it can be hard. And it all comes down to training. If you've had the right training and guidance right from the start, from a good mentor or a good circle, that part of it shouldn't really be a problem. Not really.
It sounds like a leap of faith.
It is. Do you know what? You're going to laugh at me, but please don't judge me. I actually sat down with the Jehovah's Witnesses because I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not that faith. But I admire them from going out in the street and preaching what they believe in. And my mentor, John Reese, he said to me, Viv, he said, if you really want to get good at your addresses, he said, go and sit with the Jehovah's Witnesses and do their study program for a little while. He said, you'll really get to understand what an address is about and how to get over your problems, your issues, your embarrassment and anxiety. And I did that with them for about 6 weeks. And I told them the reason why I was joining them and what I wanted to learn from them. And they accepted me. And I had a blast. Seriously. It was brilliant. I learned so much from them because even though I'm not that religion, I accept a little bit of everything, and I'll either take it or leave it. But they taught me so much, and I'm forever indebted to them. I don't even know if these guys are still alive because they were old when I was going out with them then. But yeah, no, I learned a lot from them.
Yeah, I spent some time with Jehovah's Witnesses as well.
Brilliant.
And it's one thing I actually found was actually when you talk to them, you can ask them regarding the faith. Anything.
Yeah.
And the way they explain it is completely different.
Yeah.
And actually, it brought a lot of understanding. It didn't make me change my faith. It didn't make me change anything. But it just brought understanding. And if you're going out and you're gaining understanding of something that's a different perspective to your own, perhaps, that's such a learning journey in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I actually got to thank them because they did a lot for me when I first started out in the churches, and I came back after that 6-week journey with them back into my circle. And John said to me, "Oh, how did you get on? How did you get on?" I said, "Oh, I loved it." He said, "You're not supposed to muck about and have fun. You're supposed to have learned, But I did. I learned so much from them.
So you connected to your, so you get up and you connect to your spirit guides. Right, Luz, for you, having not done that yet, is that the scariest bit, just the standing up in front of a group of people? Or is it the fact that you haven't got enough faith in your journey yet? Is it a confidence thing?
With me, it's a confidence thing. It's getting up in front of people, even though I've done, I've hosted paranormal events and stuff. I've spoke to like 50 people in a room before now. It'd be exactly the same. But I think because I'm so new into spiritual, I'm not new, but I'm still quite young in my journey. That's what's scary, because I know I shouldn't. I feel like I'm going to be judged, but I probably wouldn't be in a spiritualist church. I just need to get over that kind of thing, and I just need to go for it. And I know she's prepping me for it.
Yeah, because they do something called fledgling nights, don't they?
Yeah.
Where
we're not going to do that. We're just going to throw her straight in.
Oh, right.
Bless her. In the deep end, she don't care. She'll take my armbands out and put a foot on my head if she has to.
Well, it's one way of learning.
Yeah. She's got it. She's got it. Because, what people don't realise is the varying degrees of mediumship. So your paranormal path of the mediumship is completely different from doing your churches and giving demonstrations of clairvoyance. It's completely different. And Lucy has been working non-stop, tirelessly on the clairvoyance and paranormal side, but I'm just leaving that to one side for a minute. And I know she can do it, hands down. Hands down, she can do it all day long. I think she just needs the backup there, because she knows that if stage fright takes over, because she's only human, she's got somebody there to step in, carry on until she's got it, and then she can take over again. Do you know what I mean? So I know she could do it. She's come on leaps and bounds, and very quickly as well, because she's put the work in herself. No one's done it apart from Lucy.
So will tickets be available soon?
We'll charge you double, Paul.
Yeah, okay.
Or gag him at the back so he can't actually say anything. Because Paul is, as any regular listener to the show knows, he can be very sceptical.
He's very
at
sceptical.
times.
Living with a sceptical person as my partner is so hard.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go as far as saying he's not a sceptical. He's a lot more sceptical, than Richard. Richard will go and do the dowsing, and get involved a little bit with Xena cards, and we've done some remote viewing, haven't we, Richard, and stuff like that. Whereas Paul, he likes to question it, and then we forced Paul down that road. I said he was asking questions and being quite sceptical. Now go and do it.
It's not about being sceptical. It's about questioning why it happens. You douse them with a pendulum. Why does that happen? Why does that
Paul,
swing?
Then there was a thing, and it was an experiment. It started off as an experiment, and it was going to be for a couple of weeks. Paul had so many questions, and I know that poor old Lucy got, how do you do this? Why is that? Blah, 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 little ear. And so Lucy come to me and said, look, Vivian, will you just teach Paul the fundamental basics so he has an experience, and then we'll send him away, sort of thing. I went, okay, then. So it was going to be a couple of weeks, and I think we ended up doing, I can't remember how many weeks, Paul, was it about 4 or 5 weeks?
4,
Yeah,
4
it's 4
weeks.
because I did the last session with you.
And, Paul, you had your own experiences.
I did, but I was still questioning why that happened. Why was I doing it? It gave me more questions
Do you
than it
think
answers.
it's because you don't believe in yourself?
I think it's because I like to know why things happen as opposed to just accepting them.
But then if you carried on, maybe those questions of why would have been answered. But because it was only for a short period...
So
you
at the end of the day,
toe
I'm inquisitive and I like to know why things happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a reason things happen and I want to know why.
And only you can get those answers, as you've been shown.
Mm.
And that's why I ask questions.
And I don't think it's just a gift for certain individuals. I think everyone can do it. It's just that you choose not to take it by the horns and run with it, if you like, and actually put the work in, because you get out of it as much as you put in it.
Yeah, but then that's because I'm a paranormal investigator. I have to question everything.
And so am I.
But I do think there's the one question I've noticed that when you're talking to people, about the things you do, they go, where does it come from? And no, you can't answer that.
No. It comes
little
from
grey
the other
alien called Bob.
The other dimension, heaven. It comes from all around us. No one can give you the answer, where does it come from? Because until you go there yourself, you can't describe it. It just comes.
As I said, there's a little grey alien called Bob.
If that's where you think it comes from, then that's your truth.
Yep.
He's in his own little spaceship, and he gets all these thoughts coming from the cosmos, but really they're from you. And he answers them all in his own thought patterns, and that's where you get all your answers from. So it is literally a little grey alien called Bob.
And that's Paul Rook's perspective. Anyway, back to a working mediums, should we say?
Is that not called Scientology? Sorry.
You're right there.
He proved me wrong.
It's an alien called Tom.
Yeah, it's an alien called Tom.
It's a valid, it's a valid theory. It's no more valid than anyone else's theories about where it could come from.
And Hubbard put that theory out there already. You're not the first person.
Exactly.
And it depends how you view it. Yeah, it depends how you view it.
One day, you might actually get to meet this little grey alien called Bob, and then you'll go, well, we should have listened to Paul. You never know, do you? Is this a possibility?
How do you know we haven't already?
Well, exactly.
So when you're up on platform, when you get back down to earth, when you're up on platform, you've got through your address. That's quite a step in itself. You're faced with a sea of people, all with an expectation.
Yeah.
That need, that want for a message in some way. I don't know. I defy anybody who says they've gone to a spiritualist church and not wanted a message. Whenever I've gone, I've wanted a message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, you don't always get one. That's okay, you accept that. But there is that expectation on you. Stood up there in front of all those people, How do you know who you're going to? Because some people go, oh, I'm going to you over there in the back in the orange. So I've got my Uncle Bob here. He's like a bit short. How does that bit work for you?
Right, so any medium that has been trained what I call strictly, okay? So it's like having strict parents in the background. You've got to wash your hands before you eat your dinner and brush your teeth before you go to bed. It's a bit like that. So when you're working with your guides and you've got your guide on one side and you've got the loved one that's come through, we always know who we're going to because we ask them to give us a sign who in the audience they belong to. Who are you with? So they'll either light them up, put a cross on them, or sometimes you'll get, I've seen this happen so many times, it's so funny. I'll have the person go and sit on the lap of the person that the reading is for. Of course, they're obviously not aware of it. It's quite funny. It's a bit off-putting when they do things like that, but you actually physically get shown who that reading is for. Sometimes you'll have them, the sign goes in between two people, so it's either or you find that they've actually related or they've come together and the message is for both of them. So that can be quite difficult. So you're actually giving the reading to two people and not just one person. I've had instances where the mother has sat at the front of the church and the daughter has sat at the back of the church, but the reading has been for both of them because they've just recently lost their father, So there's been instances where I've had it jump right across from, and I've told them not to give me anything. Don't tell me. I will ask you a question, but don't answer it. That's how I work, And if I get to a point where I'm making them feel uncomfortable because it's getting too personal, and you've got a lot of people sitting in that audience, I have a code word that I tell them to use. And the minute you say that word, I will break that link. And if they go, I can't get them back. So I give them options as well. I've had some really crazy times in church, memorable ones that I will take with me for the rest of my life. I've had some really scary ones just by giving people messages, and then understood why that message had to come through afterwards. When you get the cup of tea and the biscuit, they come up to you and they tell you. But I always say to them, if you can't accept something, I will go back and ask them to rephrase or change the way that they're giving that message. But after 3 no's, I will ask them to hold it and say, look, they're not changing the way that they're doing it. It's the third time I've asked them. They're not changing that. So I'm going to go and ask you to hold it and maybe ask a member of your family. And I've even had emails and phone calls afterwards saying, oh, yeah, I got back home and I asked my mum and she was telling me, oh, yeah, that's right, that's this. And she was telling me. So that was a yes, really, and not the no that she was giving me in church. But that's how I work. And this is what I'm trying to impart with Lucy. We're there. I just got to get her on that platform. And it will happen. It will happen.
I once got told that you have to say it as you see it.
Yeah.
So, like, if you see a dog balancing on top of a ball with a rosette on its head, no matter how bizarre that is to you as the medium, that's what you have to give.
Yeah, exactly. I had a message and it was awful. I was in my biggest hero in this, and the person on the spiritual side that led me to it, as I mentioned before, was Doris Stokes. And I ended up in the church that she used to run with a guy in Wimbledon, and it was such a big deal to me. And I built it up that I was standing on a platform where she stood. Brilliant. Got rid of the nerves, was into the readings all day long. And there was this man, must have been about mid-40s. Yeah, mid-40s, early 50s. And I kept seeing the signs over him that I had to go to him and give him this message. And it came so fragmented, it was ridiculous. And all I was seeing, it looked like Victorian England, cobbled streets. It was a mess. There was slum areas. It was disgusting. It smelt. I was telling him all about it, and I was seeing corpses, like, honestly, just pieces of flesh on the floor. It was disgusting. I was seeing murder scene, and I was telling him about it, and I was really apprehensive as whether I should give him that message. But I felt that it was important enough not to change anything. I was even describing the smells, how excuse my French now, how the streets of London smell of shit. Honestly, big time. And it wasn't animal feces; it was human. And anyway. So all that was given to him, and he was going, right, yep. He wasn't giving nothing away. And anyway, to cut a long story short, he came to me at the end, and I was so concerned about that message and why he had to have it. He came up to me and he said that he came from a long line of police officers, and that he was doing his family tree, and he was going back in history. So it kept going back and back and back. And he said, and I said, oh, let me know. And I made a joke of it. I said, let me know how you get on. I said, maybe you were related to Sergeant Albrighton. It transpired he was a direct descendant of Albrighton, yeah. So it was something, it was giving him encouragement to give him, don't stop, keep going. And it was many years later he come back to me and he said, yeah. So that was why. And I didn't know what it meant, I'm not to know at the time. And if you change anything, that message to him, he could have taken it another way, and he might not have progressed with his research, and he would never have found out. So, yeah. Proud moment.
Yeah, I bet it was, actually. It's quite a validating moment, both sides, for the medium and for the person. And you can't make that up. You know what I mean? Where would you have got that from? You know what I mean? Luce, for you, now, I know you've not done platform, but what's the weirdest message you've had from Spirit that has validated it for you?
It was regarding a friend of mine. It was quite early on into mediumship, when I was sitting circle. And I've known this girl for years, and I didn't even know her. And she was sat in my living room because it was when I was practicing. And I had to go near her, and I put my hands either side of her foot, and I went, you've had an injury with your foot. I can't say what, and it was just bizarre. And I was going through and I was describing like her injury, what she had, and she just went and she just looked at me like baffled, and she went, oh my God. She went, that's spot on. She went, how the hell did you know that? Like, nothing. She trapped her leg in a bike wheel because she used to sit on the front of her mum's bike when she was a child, and her foot got all mangled up in it. And to me, I was like gobsmacked because, especially when you give readings for friends that you don't know anything about, that's what really shocks me. When I get messages from my friends that I don't even know, that just baffles me because I get it all the time. But that one was outstanding, and she told her mum, and she actually made her mum cry because she was like, oh, it just came out with that.
Lovely, that is.
I even just described what she was wearing on the day that it happened as well.
You just can't buy that experience, can you? You just can't bottle that. For me, when I've done stuff and I've had the validation, that is just the best feeling in the world.
It's so rewarding for you because knowing that you've got that through, what you have is just phenomenal. It makes me so emotional because I'm so pleased that I brought that forward, and made her mum remind her, and they had a bit of a laugh about it. It's really warming for me. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, what would you say to people that say it's just telepathic interaction, that all you're doing is picking up from memories of the person in front of you or their ancestry? What would you say to that, guys?
I would say no. And the reason I'd say no is, as I said before, there are very varying levels of mediumship. Yes, that can come into it. Reading chords can come into it. But the way we work and the way we do it so diligently is we cut chords so people can't read us. As a medium, like, I would go into a spiritualist church. I'd sit in the middle, front, back. I could sit anywhere. and I'm the one that will never get a reading because it's as though the mediums know. So I try and cut cords, I try and put my protection just so they know, so they haven't got that, they haven't got that vibe from me. I'm not giving them my very essence, like, I'm a medium, it's all right, come to me. And I've done that in churches that I've never been to before, and again, with Lucy, like she's given you that instance there where she's picked up on a friend that she hadn't seen for years, and reducing her mother to tears. That just says it all. Is it the mother sending Lucy the telepathic messages? I don't think so, because why would that mother send them to Lucy and then get up, emotional about it? And Lucy hadn't seen her friend for a long time. So, no, I say no. I think it's reading the energies. Spirit, if that's what you want to call it, spirit, or you want to call it energy, or whatever it is you want to believe in. It's having that faith that is there for you to work with, and learning how to work with it and understanding it, and how to interpret. It's because we act as interpreters. That's all we are, is we're telling you what we're being told.
But as a possible reasonable explanation to what mediums are doing, could it not be that possibly there's some sort of subconscious memory implanted in their subconscious minds, and somehow you're tapping into that?
Okay, I'll answer it with a question. So, Paul's Aunt Grace, once removed from from your father's side, decides to give you a message, Paul, by using my voice box, and she has a distinct voice. So if that voice is coming through my voice box and talking to you, your Aunt Grace, Rose, whatever her name was I just said, is talking to you directly, how is that tapping into him? How can I do that? How can I tap into your memory and know exactly how she sounded like?
Because it still is part of the information that's stored in the memory as like voice recognition.
But I wouldn't know that memory. And I wouldn't know how to tap into your memory.
You wouldn't necessarily know that memory, but if you're tapping into it and you can see everything to do with that memory, including the voice patterns, then surely, even if it's a subconscious thing with the medium, it's still a possible explanation for it. It might, it's just a theory at the end of the day.
Yeah, but what about stuff that's not happened yet? How are they getting that information from a memory when it's the future? So I don't understand.
Do mediums tell us what's going to be happening in the future?
Some do. It's not the mediums that tell you.
But then again, that also brings into the realms that, if someone tells you you're going to have an accident in the future, eventually you're going to have an accident, and you're just going to be putting it down to that anyway. Or you could even make it happen.
No. I read the other day in the press that there was a medium that actually predicted the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
We have pandemics all the time. Well, not pandemics to this degree, but we have Ebola breakouts. Not in this country, but Ebola breaks out. We had swine flu.
I think it was descriptive.
I don't know because I didn't read it.
That's too general. If you sort of home into something more of the near future, like say, Paul's going to win 20 quid on a scratch card next week, and with that 20 quid, he's going to take himself off to Mackie D's, and with the remainder of the money, he's going to nip into the pictures and watch that film that he wanted to see that he's been waiting 6 months for, right?
Yeah, but then that's because you know me really well, and that's exactly what I'd do.
No, but if a medium that you didn't know was telling you that, how can you call that tapping into memories?
Because it's tapping into the person you are then, isn't it, at that point?
So that's reading a person.
That's reading a person.
Yeah. It's cold reading.
But for one, your future plan for me would be flawed because I don't do the lottery. No, but if you turned around and said you can have a big win, people will try to make that happen. If someone says, "Oh yeah, you're going to win the lottery," I can't tell you when, but you're going to win the lottery and it's going to be soon. Chances are that person's going to go out, get a few lucky dips, and win a tenner. And that's playing the odds, and that's making it happen.
That's called cold reading, and there's been a lot of investigations and experiments with regards to cold reading, and a real medium doesn't need to cold read a person.
I'm not saying they do. I'm just using it, just thinking outside the box.
Oh,
and
yeah, no, I get that.
A possible explanation for what mediumship could be is tapping into the whole subconscious memories.
See, I tend to disagree. There is a little bit of that.
No, that's fine. You can
there
disagree.
Is a little
that's
bit
fine.
of that, but from my own experience and from what I know and from what I've been taught and what I teach, what I pass on, that's not what I experience. So.
No, but okay, that's not what your experience is. But you just admitted then that it could be.
It is. There is out there like the fraudulent mediums. I mean, everyone is a medium. Okay, and I say that with inverted commas, but there's people that need to be trained as mediums and put a lot of the work in before they can become the word and use the word medium.
I'm not knocking any mediums out there.
Yeah, but
because
it's
obviously a skill because people are learning this, and if, as I said, if it does work out just to be a whole tapping into the subconscious, they're not doing anything wrong.
Let me finish. There are also people out there that are charlatans, and they just see that, with mediumship comes this aura where I can start charging people 60 quid for an hour of my time, or 500 quid for an appearance, because they're just seeing it as a way to make money. And so they don't do the work. They don't put in mediumship work. They don't understand what it is.
No, I agree.
They want cold reading, or they're going to pump the person or the receiver for information before they start, so it makes them look credible. So there is a lot of that goes on as well. So it's down to the individuals to not give out the information to start with, to keep their mouth tight-lipped, to not shuffle, uncross your legs, don't give away any body language, and to be quite sensible about it, and to make your own decisions from there.
No, I totally agree with everything you just said. But as I said, it still could be the fact that somehow and I'm not knocking it, and I'm just using it as a reason for you to get the ideas that you do, and you produce them as the reading. You could just be somehow using your gift to tap into their subconscious memories and reading those. No,
doesn't work like that.
I disagree with that, actually, Paul. And I'll tell you why. Because whenever I've had readings, and I've had a few, sometimes they'll bring information forward that I can't take. Mm-hmm. I sit there and I go, okay, I can't take that. And they leave it with me. But I've gone and sat down with my mum and I've gone through the reading, either played it back because I've been able to record it, or written notes whilst the reading was happening. Mm-hmm. And it's my mum who's gone, yep.
But did that not then spark? I mean, I don't know what. I don't know. Maybe it was something about, I don't know, your mum used to have a sister called Ivy or something, and you go back and go, well, I don't remember it. But then your mum says, oh yeah, I had a sister called Ivy. This is she did know you. She did this, and you was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
No,
did you not have any of those moments? No.
Don't get me wrong, there was like a Margaret, and my mum was like, yeah, there's a Margaret, you did meet her, but you was ever so young. But there was an instance where the medium had said, I'm getting a squirrel in the house. And I'm like, what? Squirrel in the house? No, nothing to do with me. And my mum went, this was before you were born, she went. And they'd never talked about it. It was just one of those instances that my mum had when she was younger, and her dad had bought this squirrel. Why my granddad thought this was a good idea in the first place, God only knows. But he'd got this squirrel, he brought it into the house. Possibly it was injured or something, he's like that. And it had run ragged, and it had my nan's curtains down. Of course, my nan was like, get it out. And that was something that had happened when my mum was young, not like in her teens. She was like a young child, like 6 or 7. And it had never been spoken about. She goes, God, I'd forgot all about that. And it was only because the medium had brought that forward that my mum went, oh, my God. Do you know what I mean?
Lucy will tell
See,
you.
that also brings up another point, but it's going off the topic.
Lucy will tell you that in itself is a memory link. And sometimes the guides, Lucy, they will bring in memory links to try and help you distinguish who they are. So they're describing, I'm Margaret. Don't know Margaret. No, I can't accept that. And she'll bring up this memory link. Oh yeah, Margaret was there when that happened. Do you know what I mean? So
okay, right.
So you get that.
Sometimes you get a memory link before you get that person. You'll describe the memory link straight away, and it could be absolutely, completely, just random things that's coming, that you're getting, and then all of a sudden, the person comes in who that memory link is, and then you go, yes, this is the person. But it will take a while sometimes for them to come in. But that's because you generally find that the person is resistant because there's because they.
I still get that.
It shows themselves in different ways. Like if they've had a car accident and they're all mangled up, they're not going to show you that straight away.
No, I get that, and I get the memory links. Yeah, definitely. Right, thinking about what Kerry said about the thing that happened to her mum. Now, we only use 10% of our brain power, okay? And we've got a lot of behaviours and memories that could possibly be stored in the parts of the brain that we don't know how to access.
That's what mediums access. That's how they work. Which is
why this is what I'm saying. So
it's imperative that they sit in circle and learn how to unlock that part of the brain, the unconscious mind. That's by meditating and working with your guides. And that is the area of the brain that we unlock and what we work with when we're doing this mediumship and the paranormal mediumship.
I feel like that bloke that just quit ITV.
Okay, can I just ask though, can you let everybody make their point? Not like Piers Morgan who talks over everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd not finished making my point yet. But with the link with your mum, Kerry, right? Because you were part of your mum, could some of her memories be also stored in your memory?
So what basically your argument is like where we say that your DNA is passed through, isn't it? Which is why you've got ancestors. Yeah. So you've got a bit of your grandmother, a bit of your mother, a bit of me, a bit of me and my kids. We're
also born with the flight and fight response and things that are passed down naturally through our minds, because there are things that we're naturally geared towards. Some behaviours are learnt, but could that also be a rub-off of the memories that your mum had are stored in your brain that you don't know about, that as a medium they could still pick up on? So your brain is still technically linked to your mum?
Even if it was that's a pretty remarkable skill to be able to pull out a mum memory from my mind.
If you've got that gift and you know how to use it, then it's plausible, isn't it?
But it doesn't make it any less remarkable.
Can I make a point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you've just described there, Paul, is actually describing past lives and bringing memories of past lives into the current life, if you like. When you describe that, you can tap into that by using certain techniques like hypnosis and that sort of thing. But past lives, mediums, and likes of you or even Kerry, Richard, you can get a feeling of past lives by certain attributes that they have in today's life, if you like.
Yeah.
For example, Lucy might be shit scared of getting too close to fire. Oh, come on, it's only a little fire. Get closer to the fire and warm your hands and that is a bloody stupid. Not realising that Lucy might have died in a fire in a past life, which is why she's so scared of it in today's life.
It's the same principle, but rather than having your own life and you've passed it to your next life, it's your mum's memory
No, that couldn't happen.
Being
It's an ancestor memory, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're getting at. Yeah, sort of inherited memory.
Inherited memory links is what Paul's trying to say, I think.
But that's really brainwashing, is what you're describing there.
Not really, no, because, you know, if, say, for example, your mother, I suppose, was burnt in a fire or something, and then she's had a fear, mind you, I suppose that's a learned behaviour as well, isn't it? But, okay, maybe that's just a bad example, but I'm sure there's something that could have happened to them, and just the sheer memory, because when you're born for 9 months, you're inside your mother. So, you've got to have that link and share with your mum at least some sort of memory, possibly. And maybe
hold that thought.
As I said, it's just a theory.
Hold that thought, because we've actually got to go to a break right now. When we come back, we're going to continue with this absolutely fascinating discussion. So join us right after this.
Hello, Harry Price here. If there's nothing me and my friends enjoy more here on the other side, it is to sit back and relax and listen to the Paranormal Concept Show, right here on the PAUK Radio Network. Broadcasting a plethora of interesting and informative content for all your paranormal needs. Find them across social media to keep up to date with forthcoming shows and all their other adventures. Hello, is there anybody there?
And welcome back to the Paranormal Concept Show, exclusive to the Paranormal UK Radio Network. Now, before the break, it all was getting a bit heated. It's all going down different avenues, lots of different theories on the table on this one. And we had lots of different things. We've got past life links, we've got memory links, we've got DNA imprinting going on. We've got all sorts of theories on the table. So where do we go from this point? Is it, as Paul was saying, there is an element of cold reading out there, isn't there?
I believe personally that we all do cold reading to some form, to some extent, sort of and that is a natural sort of human trait, and we don't realise we're doing it, and I think, that is quite a trait.
It's like, for instance, now, like, obviously we're sat recording this interview, either any one of you lot I could cold read straight away.
Mm-hmm. And again, like, you get empaths that will sit there and say, oh, I feel this or I feel that. It's because they're feeling the energies and they're cold reading as well. But with the medium, they're not feeling, they're being told and they're being shown. And you get the reasons as to why you're getting that feeling, why you're being shown this, what was the purpose. And it goes into it a bit more.
So whatever message you get from wherever that comes from, and we've all agreed that we don't know where that comes from, it's just something that happens. It could actually be tapping into all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the above, and
and more,
be something
and
else,
beyond,
and more, even to Paul's little green alien, believe it or not.
Yeah. Poor Bob.
Bob.
Couldn't think of his name, Bob.
Yeah, I've always I haven't had a difficulty with mediumship, I haven't really sort of looked into it too much, but, sort of why I do not believe in the spirit world per se, not the traditional, the ghosts and sort of like the paranormal is principally sort of the dearly departed and coming back to give a message, and I don't believe in that sort of paranormal explanation. I don't know what it is, but I don't believe in that.
So, is there any information that someone could give you, Richard, that would convince you? Because you straight away you put that block there. I don't believe.
No, as I say, I don't believe what the information that mediums are getting is from departed people. Even though it's very accurate information, I don't know where it's coming from. But my sort of general view of the paranormal, of a ghost or a spirit, that it's a departed relative, is something I don't actually believe in.
So would you believe it if you saw it? So you saw the person standing next to the medium, whispering into their ear, tell him this, tell him that. So if you saw it, would you believe it?
Well, yeah, they do say seeing is believing, yeah. And if I saw it, yeah. And then perhaps, but I believe I've seen a full-bodied apparition before now, but I did not put that, and since I've been thinking about it, I did not put that down to a deceased person. It was interesting, you know, but again, was that coming more from me than coming from external to me? Because I was in a building, and I do have a very keen interest in history, and you know, it's not a big leap of the imagination to sort of I could have created that image.
Yeah. But if more than one people see the same thing, it's not you creating it, then is it? No, but if it's just you, then it's this question mark.
Yeah, true. But again, that is quite sort of rare within the paranormal field, isn't it? Sort of multiple people seeing apparitions. I mean, it does happen, but it is quite rare.
But we do have situations where multiple people have seen the same apparition, not necessarily at the same time.
Yeah.
But that leads us down a completely different route, and I want to go into trance mediumship before we go much further, because I want to stay on the mediumship route for now. So, what is trance mediumship, Viv?
It's allowing an entity or spirit to step into your being, if you like, into your body, pushes you out of the way, and it then uses your body as a vessel to communicate, solely, mainly out of using the voice box. So you hear them in their voice. They normally take their stances. If they used to sit there and slouch, you'd sit there and slouch. You'd see them sitting slouching. Their facial expressions change and sometimes take on the person of the dearly departed. You know, so it's not just the voice box. You physically see traits of them come through in that medium.
How dangerous is that?
Very. So again, if you don't know, it's a form of possession. Okay, so I'm going to use the dreaded P word. If it's not controlled, and you just open up your body as a vessel so anything can jump in, they might decide that, or like a crisis, like an accident, and you get a crisis spirit jump in, decide that they like your body and they're going to stay, then you'll have problems in removing it. I firmly believe in possession. I've experienced it. I've seen it in India. I'm not saying experienced it, I haven't been possessed, but I've seen it abroad, and it was very scary. It's very rare. I use that word that Richard used. It's very rare, but it does happen. And if something is moving into your body and using parts of your body without your permission, it's paramount to being raped, if you like. I know, I'm not going to go into my past, but I know exactly, I do know what I'm talking about. So you feel dirty afterwards and unclean, and it zaps you all of your energy, and you get very tearful, and because you've lost a moment in time of your life that you're never going to get back. So yeah, it can be very, very dangerous, and it shouldn't. People say trance mediumship like it's a throwaway thing that everyone can do it. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of building up to. I'll let Lucy explain that to you. It takes a lot of you need a controlled area, and you need somebody there to help you should something go wrong. So yeah, it can be.
Okay, so Lucy, you have tried this.
Yeah, I have tried it.
And what was your experience of that, if you don't mind me asking?
No. I can't really remember. I've actually trans something through a few times. I can't remember what happened. I know there is a recording somewhere floating around that Viv recorded. But you put yourself into like a state where you just let something in, what you let in, like Viv said, is you don't know. So the first time I ever did it, apparently my nan came through, and it was everything. It was her, the way she slurred because she had a stroke. I brought on a lot of her facial features and everything, the way she, like, the grammar she spoke in. It's very, very different, but it was very emotional because that was my first time, and with it being my nan, when it was played back to me, it was very emotional. It took a few days after to come to terms with what had actually happened. It's like Viv says, I find it very hard with these other trans mediums that are around, and I'm not knocking them in any way, but how they do person after person after person after person trans mediumship is beyond me, because when you do one, you are so tired, literally, you are literally drained. It takes me at least 3 or 4 days to just get my energy back after doing it, because you are zapped, because they've used that much energy after, and I just don't understand how they can do 3 and 4 at a time.
Viv, can you explain that?
I can't, because I've been doing trans mediumship. I don't do it very often, but when I do it, I've been doing it over a period of 30 plus years. And even just by letting one in and letting them talk and let them have free reign, I don't understand, this is just me personally, how they're allowing 3, 4, 5, 6 people jump in them and have this conversation. Because for me personally, after coming back, and sometimes it is a struggle to come back because they're not ready to sort of go, they've got more to say, so you want to come back, and you want to be in charge of your body, your own body again, and the amount of water that is drunk afterwards is like there's been a water shortage for the past 2 years, and you've not drunk water for that long. You're drinking that much water to the point where if you're not careful, you make yourself sick.
And if you're on location as well, because this is coming from me, because I've been with Viv when she's gone into trance, to get her out of the building, to get her to a point of safety where she's coming back into herself again, to get somebody out who's just done trance, to get them out of the building physically, they're literally dead weights. That's the only way you can describe them. And to get her out of the last time she went under, to get her out of the building, it took me a good 20 minutes, and it's like literally like 2 foot away.
Yeah. So I don't understand, because I mean, like when they come through, they've got something to say, and that's the reason why they're coming in the first place, because they've got a point to make. They want to explain something to you on a spiritual level, or they've got a message, or they're desperate, or something's going on for them to want to jump in the first place. So it's not for, oh, I'm just going to jump in and have a laugh at this person. There is a reason why it's happening. And then once it's happened, then they generally leave, but it's the recovery process after that. It's not easy. Not in my experience.
So going back to almost, in my mind, like a Victorian seance where you've got somebody in a box who's sitting there, they're strapped down usually, in a red light, doing this kind of work.
Mm-hmm. So you've got 2 levels. They've got 2 levels of that. So you've got shadowing.
Mm-hmm.
So shadowing is not like trance mediumship. So they'll just stand in front of, and the person will take on the persona or the images, or they'll impose their image on the face of the medium. So you'll see them physically change. So that's called shadowing. And sometimes that was done in Victorian times a lot with red light. Don't forget there was a lot of trickery and fakery as well in the Victorian times that went on.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about the genuine stuff. So the shadowing, that's still used today. The red light, we call them red light evenings. They do them in spiritualist churches all over the place. And it's quite nice because depending on where you're sitting in an audience, and if it's done under the right conditions, you will see that medium. And even on platform, just in church on platform, you might see the medium. The faces start changing where they're taking on their guides or the person that's come through to give the message, because they've stepped in so close. They've done the shadowing thing, and you'll see it quite clearly. Not even under red light conditions, and normal everyday daylight with the lights on, strip lights, whatever it is they're using in the churches. You can see that quite clearly. But then when you've got the mediumship side of things, and I know in the Victorian times they liked all the theatrics, and the cheesecloth was on standby and all the rest of it. We don't have that today. You might get the heavy panting where they're having to do that to help them open up and step outside of their body and all that sort of thing. Again, I call that theatrics because it doesn't need to happen. Sometimes the spirit might bring on their own kind of little, I don't know, theatrics with a little bit, not panting, but they might make a funny gurgly or a funny noise before they actually start speaking, because they're trying to get the voice box in position, if you like, so they can start talking. But yeah, it's
so ectoplasm isn't a thing now.
Was it ever?
Well, not to my knowledge.
No, I don't think so either. But
I can't see.
To play devil's advocate. To play devil's advocate, on the latest Netflix series, Surviving Life or Death or whatever it was called, they talked about still trying to produce ectoplasm.
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought when I was watching it. But it's an interesting facet, isn't it? It is something we look back in time at now and go, oh, yeah, right.
Maybe that's something me and Lucy could do when we get together. I've got some cheesecloth somewhere. We can try and take some pictures and get them sort of.
I think it's an art in itself. I think it's an art in itself, sort of regurgitating cheesecloth.
I don't even want to think about that.
You're asking something for me to do something that I don't even believe in, Viv.
No, I'm talking about putting cheesecloth in your mouth and taking photographs. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Reproducing that. And then making them look oldie-woldy, like cheesecloth coming out of your mouth as you sit there in the, you know.
But I do think you look at those photos now and you go, yeah, all right. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, as I say, but it is still talked about in various circles because it's been on the latest series of Netflix of an exploration of mediumship, which, again, I found quite... even for myself, there are some areas of this that I find hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much cheesecloth you could get in your mouth, I suppose. And in the dark, nobody would see the bulges in your cheeks, would they?
You look like a hamster.
Well, it would with me. I've got a massive gob, so...
Right, let's take this forward. Let's bring it into the paranormal field, because you ladies, both of you, you've gone out and investigated a lot. How did you first... I mean, Lucy, we know, came off the back of a TV experience and wanted to go and experience that for herself. But you, Viv, how did you go from platform mediumship into the paranormal field? Was it as a working medium in the paranormal, like as part of a team?
No, it was helping people in their homes with issues and problems. So the first family that came to me through the church that contacted me directly, and of course, like, once I've helped that family, then it sort of spread along that, like the church gossip. It did the rounds, if you like, and then somebody else come to ask me, and then you get people that, they just wanted a bit of attention. But then you do have people that really have serious issues and things. So it then sort of led me down the path of doing a few courses, some counselling courses, spending a bit of time understanding people, because I don't even understand myself, let alone other people, So I needed a bit of help. And it just went on from there. And because I was asked, a friend of mine who I was working with at the time said, this group are looking for people to join, and they want a medium. you should join them. I said, oh, I don't know what that's about. It might be a load of rubbish, you know. Anyway, I went along, and they were a credible paranormal team based in Kent. So I travelled from London to Kent to go out on investigations with them. One was a scientist, another one ran her own business. These were credible people, you know, not little fly by night home to make a buck. It was purely a hobby. And through going out with them, and you'd expect them to be asking me questions because I'm being a medium. I was the one asking them 101 questions. How do you do this? How do you know that? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and so there was an interest there. And yeah, it's sort of learning to read the buildings and understanding the paranormal side of mediumship, because not all buildings are haunted in the way that you think they are. Because you see something, it doesn't mean there's a spirit in there that's going to communicate with you. It's the building we're playing. And so it was learning, going back to the drawing board, going back to school, if you like, and learning from the beginning from them. So yeah, I'll never forget that team. They're still going strong even now. So yeah, good team they are.
So there is a very distinct difference between platform media, you know, that side of it, that kind of mediumship work, and working in the field, isn't there?
Yeah. Lucy will tell you.
What's the difference? Luce.
You put me on the spot, Viv. Thank you very much.
All right.
She does know. I promise you she does know.
How does it feel different-wise, like from when you're tuning into a spirit to what it's like when you go on an investigation?
Obviously, when you're up on platform, you're there to give people readings, as where in the paranormal field you will go in there and you're picking up on different energies of the place, different spirits. You know, you can touch walls and stuff and just get readings off that. You know, psychometry, kind of things like that. So that's where it differs. For me, anyway. I don't know about you, Viv.
Yeah, she's hit the nail on the head, because there are varying levels of hauntings. Not every building has an interactive spirit that's going to come sit down all day long and talk to the medium and tell them why they're haunting the place. Not every spirit that is interacted is going to want to come and talk to you because they've had the world and their wife asking the same questions 100 times over, and it's getting to the point of ridiculous. So when you've got a building that's got residual hauntings, and those of you that don't know what a residual haunting is, you need to go and find out. When there's a residual haunting at play, it's the building talking, not a ghost, not a spirit, not something like that. So you need to be talking to the building, and believe it or not, the building vibrates. The building is full of energy, and you can tap into that energy by doing psychometry, as Lucy said, by laying your hands on the walls, the very fabric of the building, and let the building speaking to you. So again, it's a bit different from acting as an interpreter on platform, giving messages to loved ones that are still on the earth plane and they're in spirit. You know, it's completely different. And again, as I say, there's varying levels of hauntings, there's varying levels of mediumship, and it's just understanding what is what and working with it, basically.
So you're tapping into the energetic imprint.
Yes.
Is what you're doing when you go on an investigation. So what happens if you come across a spirit in the location? Because they're not all just energetic imprints.
No.
Well, when I envisage an energetic imprint, it is somebody who is not there. That's exactly what it is, an energetic imprint, living out their routine in the life, because that's what's imprinted. But you do get spirits that do interact on the locations, don't you? What's that like? Do they like it?
Some do, some don't. Some are sick of it. Some are perverts, believe it or not. seriously. I don't know if you've experienced a pervert, Luce, but I certainly have.
Yeah, I have.
And oh my God! And it's not not just women, men as well. That have been touched up, I should say. And it's because they know that they can get away with it, so they're going to continue with that. I think they take a certain part of their life, like they're alive on the earth plane, with them into spirit, and they still have that cheekiness, that naughtiness. Some of them are just angry because of being disrespected. They've got like something that they want to fulfill or finish before they feel that they can move on. Some of them don't want to move on. Some of them are quite happy, thank you very much, and you get... I know of people that have gone in and tried to remove them, so they've gone and then come back again, So it's a bit... It's a bit of a weird one, that one. So it's just like talking to people, everyday people. You're a stranger. Why should I talk to you? Piss off, It's always like that, What do you want? Where's my handbag? Where's my wallet? What did I do with it? And they're more concerned about what you want from them rather than what they want from you. Do you know what I mean?
I'd say it's pretty low on how many spirits actually... Because as soon as you get there, like... we open up and stuff like that, and you are like a beacon of light when you walk into a location.
Yeah.
They know that you're there, and then you'll have some that will come in wham bam instantly, and then there's obviously some that shy away and connect with you a little bit later to tell their stories.
Yeah.
But they know that you're there. It's just up to that individual as a spirit whether they want to make contact with you, and it's exactly the same with readings. We can't force that spirit to give a message, or if they don't want to, they'll just say bye, see you later, or they'll just go. They won't even do that.
Or they'll run and hide is another one's good one. They'll just hide away.
Yeah.
When you go, you obviously use kit. I know, Viv, you love your kit. You've got just about every piece of kit going that's available when you go investigating, and none of us are adverse to using kit while we're out. But the point of kit, in my perspective, is not really... It's to help try and enhance that connection, isn't it? For me, when I'm using like the spirit box or, whatever it is that we're using. But it's also partly trying to record something, isn't it? Get a physical representation of that connection, that spirit. Is it any good, really, in all honesty, Viv? Have you actually got anything that you've gone, yes. Oh my God,
Yes.
Okay.
I cheat. Okay, so as a medium, and Lucy will tell you this, she cheats as well. As a medium, we can cheat. So we can link into our spirit guides and say, right, this place is really haunted. I really want to get something on camera tonight. Do you think you can help me? And they'll either say yay or nay. And I bought a lot of cameras, digital cameras, loads and loads of them. And I had to update my digital camera to something a bit more flashier because I get told to go and stand in a particular room and to take about 200 pictures. 200 pictures in a room. And you imagine how boring that is. Just stand there and take 200 pictures, And then when you get home, look at them properly. And so you get home, you're going through all the pictures and you're looking at them, delete. So out of those 200 pictures, there'll be one, and you've got it. You've got that one thing that you've asked them to do, and with the help of guides and even them chatting to whatever's going on there, and it's nice, when you've got somebody with you that hasn't got the gift that I have, that will follow me around and do the same 200 pictures with me. I mean, obviously we're not going to take pictures of each other and get in the way, but we stand side by side and we're taking all these pictures. And it had been proven, there was 2 of us that did that at the Tower of London, of all places. Mm-hmm. And even the one skeptic that was, and he's a big skeptic, took photographs that even he had to question. So that was nice. But that doesn't always happen. You could take 200 pictures and get nothing, absolutely nothing. But on the rare occasion, we get told, this is where you need to be, or these are the questions you need to ask. The camera camera, not my camcorder, but my stills camera and my voice recorder, out of all that tech that I've got, of two things that I've got, and it's not a spirit box, an actual digital recorder are the two things, are the only things that I need. And I always ask somebody else that has the same things to come with me, so they're getting it on their equipment, not just mine.
See, I've been actually on an investigation with Viv, and throughout all the equipment that she has actually got, I think the one piece of equipment we had with us that night was the only one piece we really needed that actually gave us the, oh my God, what is that moment that every investigator wants, and that was the mobile phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know why? It's because if somebody tells me, and it was so funny how that happened, because Paul said it as a throwaway comment, Viv, don't forget to put your mobile phone on airplane mode.
Yeah.
And I said to him, F that, I'm going to telephone the dead. And he goes, what? And he started laughing at me, as you do. And so that's how me and Paul did that thing. And it was just out of having a bit of a laugh, really, wasn't it, Paul? I mean,
it was.
By pushing boundaries and just sort of, well, you know, after the tech, you've got so much that you don't want to carry it around. It gets in the way. And something as simple as that got such fantastic results. Even to this day, we can't answer. We don't know why that happened, how that happened. You know, and I know people have tried to replicate it in that location so many times and have never got it. But I think for me and Paul, it was right time, right place, and the conditions were right at the time, and we were with the right people. So that's why that happened, I think.
It is something that's quite astonishing when you've got a working medium is picking up a connection, and that's when you start working this experiment. I don't always like it when they go, oh, we don't work with mediumship or spiritualism, we don't use any of those methods on our team. I don't like working purely in a tech way.
I don't mind it, because you can still quite quietly in the background still cheat and still tap into that.
Still cheat.
And I tell you why I did that. I went upstairs, and before I put that phone down and put it on loudspeaker, I was, talking out loud, if there are spirits in here, I come with all respect, blah, blah, please talk to us. If you come too close to this device, it's just a telephone. I'll be able to hear you, and you'll be able to hear me, but I just won't be in the room. A bit like you, really, And people think, what the fuck is she doing, Sorry, I should
explicit on this.
Sorry. But it worked, and sort of Paul sort of looked at me as if to say, oh, God, she's on one again, And Lucy's face was a picture. When that was going on, she couldn't believe it. She just, oh, my God.
To be fair, though, on that particular night, I don't think any of you could believe what was happening.
Yeah, I think I was outside and I came in, and that's before it got serious, and you just went, oh, I'm going to telephone the dead, and I just imagine, you are?
You are? I can imagine your face when you said that, Luce, as well. I can really imagine it. So it is a two-way street, isn't it? That's where we're getting at, really. It's a two-way street. It's good to use the spiritualism alongside the tech, and you never know what you're going to capture.
Yeah, I'm not very techie-minded. The only two bits of equipment, like me and Paul, we've clubbed ours all together, but the only two that I actually own is a basic K2 meter and a voice record, because I think, this is me personally, you don't need all the tech and gadgets and stuff like that. I'm very old-fashioned. I would like to go in there, go into a room, and just sense what I feel. And if I feel anything, then use my tech that I've got to get the answers and my spiritualism. That's the way I work.
I remember one night I was in a jail with Lucy in the north of England. I won't mention where we were. And she says, And it was quite funny how this happened. She says, Viv, make sure you bring your voice recorder with you. We're going to do some EVP sessions. She says, oh, all right. I said, okay then. So I just went with the flow, you know. And we sat in a place, and I felt very, very uncomfortable. And Lucy's like, well, this is what you've come for, Viv, so just get on with it. And I'm like, okay. So I was seeing somebody. Lucy was feeling them. So Lucy, like, switch your voice recorder on, and you know, and she's calling out and all the rest of it. And I had my infrared camera taking pictures as you do. And I got to the point where I had to leave. On analysis of those pictures and listening to the voice recording, Lucy knew. She must have known. She must have had a sixth sense or had a tapped into the energy or whatever. But we got an A-class EVP talking over us, saying, what are they doing? What are they doing, right? At the same time of that happening, I took a photograph, full-bodied apparition of a man standing in a jail cell. Right, when you see the picture, it's just a man standing in the doorway, but in the jail cell. There's no door, the door's gone. But that actual jail cell was full of chairs. There was so many chairs stacked in it, you couldn't get a person in it. So straight away, I think without Lucy realising it, she had tapped into what was about to have happened, and without saying it, by saying, oh, Viv, get your voice recorder, because we're going to do this. Okay, get your camera. Yeah, okay. Come on, hurry up. And she was like hushing me out the door as if to say we're going to miss it. So again, like Lucy's sixth sense, again, out on location, was spot on.
But there was also another incident that happened that night where you went out, and me and another team member, we thought, oh, we're not going to go, she's okay, she knows the way back to the bathroom, we'll go upstairs. So we put camera on a tripod on record in that gap where we got the images, the recording before. We locked it off on there, but we went upstairs investigating anyway, came down and on analysis of that, and we were upstairs in the cells, on video there was nothing there, but you could hear the cell doors slamming upstairs, but it wasn't us because we were in a far cell doing call-outs, and you could hear us, and we had another camera set up with us, so we weren't moving, and the cell doors were slamming.
So you shouldn't discount the tech either.
No.
So how do we then, like, from a cold person, you know, when you're coldly looking at somebody else's footage, it's very easy to be dismissive, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult when you look at, you know, I could look at the footage you showed me a photograph from the Tower of London that you took,
mm-hmm.
and we all saw something different in it, and so we was going, oh, it could be pareidolia, you know, all the logical explanations, but we didn't experience it. We weren't there.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, isn't it, when you're viewing other people's experiences or footage?
That's why I say they should never dismiss, when I say tech, it depends on what tech you're using and in the situation you were using the tech. So rather than using for me personally, rather than using a K2 meter or an EMF meter, use your body as your sense, because you'll know when energies are changing, you're going to feel it. So that's one. So you don't need that. Your voice recorder, you hear it with your own ears. Sometimes you can't hear it on that level, so you use a digital voice recorder to get answers, if you like. And sometimes when people don't get an answer, they dismiss it. Oh, there's nothing in here. But people don't realise, change the way you ask the question. So rather than saying, can you tell me what they called you, what your name is, just say, what did they used to call you? Because you might not have been known by, you know, your full name. You might have had a nickname sort of thing, and then resonate with that, you know.
I think when a lot of investigators go out now and actually ask the questions to spirit to get the answers, they are abrupt, they are disrespectful at times, and working spiritually, I know you're not going to get those answers because they're not going to answer you because you're being rude and abrupt. If you're not getting a response and you feel like there's something there, and Viv just said, change your question and the way you ask it. And there's something like, Viv, it always gets her back up when you say, you know, come forward, join us.
No. When you meet somebody for the first time, Kerry's going to introduce me to her best mate, Linda, who lives 2 doors along. So Linda's not going to say, hello, can you step forward and tell me your name? She'll put her hand out most probably and say, how do you do? I'm Linda. Nice to meet you. And I'll say, oh, I'm Viv. Nice to meet you too. And then we'll sit down and have a chat. You're not going to say, can you step forward? It's just one of my...
It's one of your bugbears.
To be fair, the Ghost of Christmas Present did say, come forth and let me know you better, man.
Come forth. But no, it's just one of... it's just my bugbear. And again, when they're getting nothing, they wonder why. It's just use common sense, really. And I think when a lot of people go out ghost hunting... I'm not going to say paranormal investigating because that's different. But when they go out ghost hunting, they mimic what they see on television, hence the words, can you come forward and tell me what your name is? Sorry. Sorry. That's just me. But again, it is just using common sense. It's how you want to conduct your investigation. If that's what you want to do, mimicking the TV, then that's up to you, you know. Go and have fun with it. That's what I say. But don't come out investigating with me because I'll slap you.
She does. Trust me. Richard, you've been very quiet throughout.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. No, we sort of moved on to the tech and stuff like that, and I've been fortunate enough to investigate with Viv. We've done Kelvin and Hatch, and we sort of. That was an interesting evening. I wouldn't say it was overly sort of active, but that was when I saw the way sort of Viv worked, and she does. You know, when she calls a spirit in, it's not like, you know, sort of come forth and name yourself. It's, oh, hello, come in, come and sit next to me. It's quite sort of, it's different, yeah.
Richard,
I don't know. When we were sat on that bed, Viv, that feeling that was coming towards us, that wasn't nice, was it?
No, but we didn't ask it to come forward, did we? We
were just sitting there going, I can feel that. Can you feel that? Yeah, I can feel that. That's not good. I don't like that.
So, Richard, you've had another experience with Viv. You have investigated with him and got a really good result about over it. Do you remember?
With Viv?
Yeah, when you went to Castle Rising.
Oh, yes, we've done some dowsing experiments, didn't we?
Yes. Oh, wow. They don't know about that, do they?
Oh, yes, I forgot all about that, yeah. Well, Viv, in her spare time, is a bit of an authority on Castle Rising, and would that be fair to say, Viv?
Only because I rubbed shoulders with the ex-custodian. Yeah, know a lot, yeah.
And Viv was sort of asking me to see what I could pick up with my dowsing rods, because I do like to do a bit of dowsing, and that was actually quite interesting, wasn't it, Viv?
Amazing.
Because you had you sort of been there investigating before, and you believe that there is a particular sort of spirit that resides there. Is that correct?
Well, through one of my good friends being the custodian, and this is going back a number of years, there was an incident that rendered a lot of the visitors to Castle Rising quite ill, and were going home and complaining about what the aftermath, if you like. And so the custodian had to call in a team with mediums and professionals to help subdue it. Is that the right word? Because you can't get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Then a lot of land work or surveys were done to find that there were some major ley lines that ran directly through the property and through the area that Richard did his experiment in. Yeah. And I didn't say too much to Richard, I kept my mouth shut and just let Richard do his dowsing and talk about what he was feeling and what he was
There
doing.
certainly is one sort of energy line that does run right across the site, right through the centre of the main building. I mean, I wasn't sort of too sure because I did notice that's where they situated the wells as well.
Yeah.
There's 2 wells which are actually situated, so was I picking up on the water source, or was the water source, was that the pool that was causing the energy? It's either or, whether it's a ley line or whether it's a water source. I mean, but the wells being sunk along this line would suggest it is a water course.
Yeah. But, he hit the spot where there was the issues, and you did say that you didn't feel too well when you got to that particular spot.
Yeah, because I followed it out of the main building across the across to where there's a chapel on the far wall, isn't there?
Yeah.
Or what's left of a chapel. And again, it took me to there, and then it took me up into where the altar would have stood, and I got hit after hit after hit, both with rod and pendulum work. There's certainly something. There is certainly a strong energy connected with that particular location within Castle Rising.
And do you want to know what that energy was, Kerry?
Yeah, go for it.
Elemental.
Love an elemental.
I know you do.
I love an elemental. I definitely work better in those realms than I do spirit, like people spirit, from my perspective anyway. But then I work with crystals really well, so it's hardly surprising, is it?
It was a naughty one, and it had to be... so you can't put it back in its box because that's not the right terminology, but it had to be... So you can't remove it, it's still there. But it's not as aggressive as it was. People were being sort of knocked off their feet and being hit, and things being thrown at them, and quite large rocks were being held at people's heads and stuff like that. And, yeah, seriously.
All good stuff. That's like Kerry there. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Well, again, that's one place I'd like to go to. Castle Rising is definitely on my list.
It is an impressive, nice sort of place to go.
Yeah, it's definitely on my
list. When we go
list.
to these places, Richard, we need to get postcards just for Kerry, so we can send them to Kerry and she can say, look where I've been.
True.
I've been there. By default.
Kerry, you come to mine, and Lucy, we'll have a girls' trip out to Castle Rising.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, you do that. On a windy day, just like it was when we went.
Yeah, we went on a windy day, didn't we? But,
yeah.
No waders needed.
Thank God for that. So, Paul, having listened to this whole conversation and knowing your perspective, when you go on investigations, you are open to psychics and spiritual work practiced in the field? I've seen you do it.
I'm intrigued by it, and I would love to actually learn to see spirit and hear and all that sort of stuff. But it's just I experience it because I like to go out, and when I've been doing stuff with the other team, like the team, I've had guests go off with the team members, and if the location's big enough, I'll let them go off and do their locations within the building, and then I'll go and find somewhere else to go and sit quietly and just absorb the atmosphere and call out for myself. And if there is anyone here, like make yourself known, make a noise, sort of thing, and come forth and know me better, man. And not really, but do you know what I mean? Just call out and see if there is anyone there that would want to interact and communicate with us. And there are times. I mean, I was sitting in a theatre in the second row of the seats, and I actually heard the doors go behind me. Someone walk along the back row and sit down on one of the seats.
Yeah, but
but no one was there.
Knowing what you know now, and what you've sat with Viv, and you've not really sat on your own on a location since you've actually sat circle, have you?
No.
So maybe now, because I want to say, because you have been open, you say, oh yeah, I'm here. Maybe you ought to sit somewhere quiet and see how you feel, like alone. So when we go off, when it comes out of lockdown, and see how you feel after that, because you could pick up on something absolutely phenomenal and come back.
Well,
and
I intend to do that when we go to RAF Netishead.
Yeah.
It's a big location. We're doing it with another team, and I've got 7 members of my team going on there. And you know, I do want, when they go off and do their own thing, I want to be able to do my own thing as well.
Can I suggest something?
Yeah.
What about getting yourself some iPads, just to mask off your eyes, so you know, like the Gansfield experiment.
Yeah.
So playing some white noise in your ears and having the ping pong balls on your eyes, and just sitting quietly with a flashing light in your face, you know, knowing that there's going to be no one around you for at least half an hour, and just having, you know, using that time to relax, clear your mind and all the rest of it, and maybe sort of using that as a little precursor into you going into doing more
as much as I would like to do that, right, I know, knowing my team, there's going to be one of the members of the team with handcuffs sneaking up behind me, handcuffing me to the chair and taking pictures to plaster all over Facebook for the rest of my life.
No, we wouldn't do that.
No, we wouldn't.
But now
Mark
you've suggested it, that sounds like a good idea.
So then something like that, though, sort of in a room of your choosing, so they don't know where you are, and it will sort of get you a bit relaxed, ready for, you know, later on when you do, well, hopefully.
I do intend to do my own thing, and I've got to put a few things into place, but I do intend to start doing some investigations of my own. And go off and do my own investigations in private locations. I do have one case already that's been going on for quite a while, but that's something I need to check up on.
Remind me, Paul, to message you privately, and I will give you the room where I think you should sit on your own.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. It's actually been there.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the reason why.
No, don't tell him.
No, don't. See
if he comes back with the same. Don't tell him.
Yeah, don't tell me. Just tell me what room it is.
No, but if he wants to experience something firsthand, I'll tell you which room you're going to experience. More than likely, will experience it.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. I can do that.
Just to give you the helping hand, so you don't tell anybody else.
No, that's fine. I can do that. You've heard it here first.
And see if your other team members get the same as, and hopefully you will experience something in there.
Yeah.
See if they get the same on their investigation, but you just have to keep it quiet as an experiment.
No, that's fine, and that's what it's all about: experimenting and having my own experiences at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So once you've opened the door to the other realm, shall we say, to spirit world, you can shut down. You can shut yourself off. You can close down. We do that. We open and close. That's part of that process. Can you forever close it down? Can you block it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can. Have you ever been tempted to?
Yes. I'll tell you why. I grew up with a childhood of seeing spirit, having them talk to me, it being frightening, parents not understanding, being hit, being sent to bed because of scaring everyone, all the rest of it. Anyway, long story short, it went away for about 2 years. When I was about 15, 16, 17, it started coming back with a vengeance. In my early 20s, I saw a neighbour, let's say the house across the road, I lived in a small cul-de-sac, had airline staff working in it. And I saw one of the ladies in there hanging by her scarf, like hanging in the front bedroom window. She'd killed herself, basically. And so I see that. I started panicking. I started knocking on the neighbour's door, saying, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? So you got to help her, you got to help her. Nobody was like looking at her and saying, what the fuck are you doing, babe? So I'm running back in, and the kids are crying because mum's acting like a lunatic. Anyway, I've run across the road with scissors. I just thought of scissors, not thinking of how I'm going to get through their solid wood front door. And I started kicking it in, and then my partner sort of pulled me back, got me into my house, and said, Viv, you need to calm down. What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, can't you see it? Am I the only person? Like, she's killed herself. She's killed herself. So I was made to calm down. It was you can imagine seeing a body and somebody that you see walking around, you know, hanging like that. It was awful. So they calmed me down, got me a cup of tea. They said, right, drink that tea. We'll go back over there. If she's still hanging, I will personally kick in the front door and cut her down myself. Okay. Drank me tea, gulped that down, burnt all the roof of my mouth. Went and had a look. She wasn't there. And it transpired that she was doing long haul flights. She was Italian. She did long haul flights all over the world, and the industry wasn't what she thought it would be. She'd had enough, and she was hanging up her scarf, jacking it all in and going back home to Italy. So what I was seeing was not physical, it was a symbolic message. And at that point it was like, do I want this? I was a state. It absolutely broke me, that did. I got taken to a spiritualist church because nobody knew how to help me, because it did leave a mental scar for a while. And I was introduced to a fantastic person and medium called John Reese, who gave me the option, who said, you can either use it or you can lose it. If you use it, it will help many, many, many people. But if you lose it, then you'll be ignorant of the fact of this is a gift, you'll never see that again, it will be gone forever, and you just get on with a normal life. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I don't know, because I was a mess, I was a wreck. He said, I'll make that decision for you then, you will use it. And I sat in circle with him, and from not sitting in circle, not knowing about it or understanding it, it took me 9 months. From the day I walked into his circle to the day I did my first solo platform for the spiritualist churches. 9 months. Because I was clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant, and I was a trance medium all in one. It was already there. It just had to be, what's the word, twiddled with and set to the right frequency. Others have to be taught and nurtured, you know, so that's why it took me very quick.
That's quite symbolic, the 9 months.
9 months.
It's quite symbolic. Liz, what about yourself? Have you ever thought, that's it, I'm not doing this?
No, not because I've seen anything. I have said it, I've had enough due to my confidence levels, because I doubt myself so much and I know I can do it. But apart from that, no, I've never seen any. I've only had one incident that's frightened me in the 4 years that I've been doing it. So, but I got on with that and I worked through it and I found out the reason, and that was it. So I can honestly say no.
And my last question is actually to the boys. Knowing what you know, working with who you've worked with, the experiences that you've had, and your forays into various forms of spiritual work, there's nothing yet that's turned you from not wanting to work that way, is there?
Well, no. I mean, I'm very open-minded towards it, and I have got some good results, sort of with people that do use it, and even myself with my little forays into dowsing and a bit of remote viewing. You know, I suppose that can be put down as a spiritual sort of thing as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't dismiss it out of hand.
And Paul?
No, I've used it, and I've used techniques that I've seen being used by other mediums, and they do seem to work. Even though that I don't understand some of the experiments that I'm doing, if that makes sense, in the respect that I don't know how they're working, but they do. And for me to get results from that, I just, again, question it. Why is that working? You know, and the particular experiment I'm referring to is, you know, having everyone in a circle. They've all linked hands, and you get them to close their eyes, and you shout out a question, and they shout out the first word that comes into their minds. 9 times out of 10, you get about 3 or 4 people shouting out the same word. You know, in answer to the questions, and you can ask anything. You know, like if there a spirit around us at the moment, you'll get most of them say yes, and then you go, okay, can you tell us what the name of the spirit is? And then there'll be 4 of them that come out with the same name. You know, and that does work. I've had that work so many times, and although I don't understand the mechanics behind why it's actually working, it's a quite good experiment to run, just to see if you can pick it apart, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. On that note, we've explored many different areas regarding working with spirit, both, you know, as a medium, as a platform medium, and in the paranormal field. And I think one thing's very clear is it can be very divisive. It raises so many questions that we can't necessarily answer readily for you, but it is incredibly interesting. On that note, I'd like to say thank you so much to Vivian and Lucy for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Kerry. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're very welcome, and thank you for being so candid as well. There's been a lot of questions that, you know, some people balk at, and, you know, it's been an honour to listen to various, you know, experiences that you've both gone through on your personal journeys. On that note, boys, have you got any news to report?
Not that I can think of. The website's all up to date with the shows and the books and everything. So yeah, go over and have a look at the blogs and buy the book. If you're enjoying the shows, there's so much more in the books.
The spiritual journey on that.
Oh yeah, and my spiritual journey, the 4 blogs that I wrote for the spiritual journey, the experiment that I took.
Sorry, just put it in there.
Yes.
Oh, it's in the book.
That's
Yeah,
in the
it's
book.
in the book.
Most certainly is. There's nothing left to say then. On that note, say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.